Real quick before we get going, I wanted to let you know that The Chosen actually commented on our live stream right at the very end of the live stream after we're done talking about all this stuff. And they left this comment right here, so you can read that just to clarify a few things. But in this video, we're going to be talking about Dallas's response, some things that I agree with and some things that I don't agree with or wish that he would have spoken more about. But to be clear, like I've said in my past videos, I don't want to be talking about all this kind of stuff. People have asked for my response to this video, so I'm making this. But this is the last time that I'm going to be talking about it. All right, let's go.
So, how's your week been going? We've had a big week on The Chosen, primarily because we're in the middle of filming Season 4, but also because some stuff has happened online, as it is wont to do, and in this video, I would like to provide some clarity on what's happening, even if we disagree. As Dennis Prager says, I prefer clarity to agreement. And so I'm going to try as quickly as I can to share a few thoughts on all that's gone on. And occasionally I might glance at some notes just because I want to make sure I remember everything.
So first off, let me say this. I think that this is a pretty smart thing for Dallas to do overall. I think him addressing the issue, bringing clarity to the issue is really great. And that I think overall he did a really great job. And we're going to kind of walk through this piece by piece. Dallas is obviously a very intentional and smart person. And so he's walking through this trying to make sure that he, kind of puts out the fires where they need to be put out, but also stand his ground where he wants to stand his ground. Yeah, I'm glad that he did address it. I know that he didn't have time during the week, and a lot of people were like, oh, he should have just done this like immediately, but then he probably would have said something wrong and made it worse and all of that. So smart of him to kind of wait, get to the point where he could respond and do this here.
So, number one, here is what you've been hearing, and here's what happens if you go on YouTube and scroll through. You'll see a bunch of pretty hysterical headlines at times. The things like, The Chosen waves pride flag on set. The Chosen's all about the money, and they've sold out, and they're trying to please the woke, and The Chosen is promoting yada, yada, yada. So, here's the thing. I'm not responding to them. I'm not responding to anyone who started all of this. I am communicating to you, the potentially confused viewer, and I'm just giving you clarity. Like I said, even if we disagree, at least the disagreement should be about accuracy and the correct things. Now, why didn't I respond earlier this week when this all started to blow up? Basically because I'm busy. I have been making the show. It's a 12 to 15 hour a day exercise, and I always focus on the work first and foremost, and we try to avoid caring about or listening to the noise that's around the work when it does come up. But it's not like this is new for us, and the things I'm going to share in this video are not newly formed. I don't have to think about them or drum up any kind of new response. This is all based on stuff that has been on my heart for years and has been our philosophy from the beginning. So here is actually what happened. So one of our crew members, one of my favorite crew members actually, an independent contractor. Our crew members are independent contractors, so this would be like if you hired a crew to come build your home or paint your office space. He has a 3-inch pride flag on his own personal equipment. He has it on every project that he works on. He's had it on his equipment on our project for over a year. He's been with us for a while. And it happened to show up in the corner of one of our behind-the-scenes videos for a few seconds.
So this is where I think I'll probably have like the biggest pushback for this whole situation. This never should have happened. Like that being in a BTS video of The Chosen never should have happened, right? I get like allowing the crew members to have their own stuff or whatever, but putting it in a YouTube video on YouTube in the behind the scenes is where I probably would have been like, we should be careful of that kind of stuff, right? Not only because it's something that the Bible disagrees with, right? Because again, this is not a ministry. It's not a nonprofit. Like it's not a church, right? And I get that. However, like a lot of you are saying, I think the legitimate concern that you guys have had is that it showed up in the behind the scenes video overall. Not that it was there in the first place, if that makes sense. And so I do understand that criticism, and I'm not Dallas, right? Maybe I would have made different decisions there or whatever. I do think this is the most legitimate consideration when it comes to this subject overall. yes, just like I said, this whole spiel that I did, 20 minutes ago, I do agree that we should be acting as Christians, that we shouldn't be judging the world. But The Chosen didn't need to put it in the behind the scenes video overall. They could have cropped it out. Different things could have been happening. I get that makes it difficult. I get that makes it a little bit harder to kind of work around that kind of stuff. But when your base is mostly evangelical Christians who, or Catholics or whoever you are, the base is a faith-based, believing people, all of which agree that homosexuality is a sin. I think you need to be a little bit more careful when it comes to that stuff, not because you're bending to their demands, but because this is for them, right? And so not only does it irritate them, but it also causes a lot of issues for the show, just like we saw this week. So it derailed a lot of things. It probably distracted a lot of the cast and crew. While they still got work done, it was obviously something that Dallas had to deal with all this week, talking to news agencies and different people and wasting his time. And so this is something that I probably would have taken out, right? Personally, this is probably where I would stand, over everything. However, I do agree with much of what he says in this video overall, so let's continue. If you're liking this video and you want to see more from us, it would really help us out if you would subscribe to our channel. YouTube really takes into account how much people like and subscribe and look at different videos. So it would really help us if you were to give some of those signals to YouTube so that they know our channel's good and it deserves to grow. Anyway, let's get back to the video.
And someone asked about it, which isn't the first time we've been asked about things like that, maybe even that specifically in the past. And we violated our own rule about responding on someone else's turf, and we ended up giving kind of a standard answer that we give when asked about our cast and crew's personal beliefs, which we get asked about all the time. And that was a mistake because this issue is a little bit more nuanced than just a standard, what does your cast and crew believe answer. So to be clear, there was no flag flown. A 3-inch flag doesn't fly anyway. And there's been no statement made by The Chosen about Pride or Pride Month or anything like that. There's no promotion of anything happening, unlike some of the headlines and some of the hysterical rantings we've seen. Now, again, not everyone who comments on this is hysterical. I'm not saying that. Many of you have very legitimate and fair questions.
And I think that's what he's kind of alluding to there as well. The legitimate and fair questions of why was it in the video in the first place, right? And a lot of you are supporters of The Chosen. You're just worried about where the direction of the show is going, and you've been burnt so many times. And I totally get that. There's been a million different companies in the world that have gone woke, right? Which is what the whole narrative of this was, that The Chosen has gone woke. And it's such nonsense. They're using people on the set that are doing all these things, but it all starts because The Chosen put it in one of their videos. And yeah, I mean, that's the truth, but it's very difficult not to when you have a crew member that is very front and center, right? And I can't say that the motivations of this crew member either. I know a lot of you are like, oh, it's malicious. I don't really truly believe that. I think that he just has an ideology that he holds to, that he is proud of, right? No matter how much I disagree with that, no matter how much I think it's a violation of what God has made, that is the case, right? And so it's very difficult to avoid that kind of thing. And how are you supposed to, I don't know, not show that on camera? But in this specific circumstance, I think it could have been caught and easily, edited around. But in many other circumstances, it may not be as easy, such as the feeding of the 5,000 when they have specific shots and different things they're going through. I'm not sure they could have avoided it. So, yeah.
I'm just saying that when you look on social media, you're always going to be shown the most engaging and eye-catching and clickbaity headlines, and it's, I'm sure, going to throw you off sometimes and cause some confusion. So in our now or never...
Yeah, you guys say that I'm clickbaity, but have you seen any of these articles? Have you seen any of these written articles on these websites and stuff? It's way worse than anything that I do. And I always talk about exactly what I actually put in the thumbnail and title. So, yeah, don't call me clickbaity when you see these things. It's crazy, man.
All or nothing times. this turned into a bit of a culture war, kind of an intra-Christian culture war, and we're getting compared to companies that actively promote whatever woke agenda that people are concerned about. So on our set, just to be clear, this is nothing new. Like I said, we've had, for a long time, our cast and crew have wildly different beliefs. They run the spectrum, and they sometimes wear t-shirts or hats that go across the entire spectrum, from a pride flag or a MAGA hat or a Jesus Saves shirt. And no one's been triggered. No one on our set minds. Everyone loves our fellow cast and crew members, including the overwhelming majority of our visitors and like our extras, our background extras who come in and see all of this stuff. And unless people are jerks or don't work hard, we are a huge, we're a family. We're very tight-knit on set, and everyone loves the experience. And our personal policy has always been that we don't police individual workspaces or social media. So when we bring on independent contractors like our cast and crew, just from the beginning, Amanda and I, when we first started The Chosen, and my partner Daryl and others, we've just made it very clear to each other, to our cast and crew, and to you actually, that we do not have a religious or political litmus test for who.
And I totally get this. I talked about this in my first video as well. I think one thing that I wish he would have clarified a little bit more in this section is that, like, he would never allow someone to fly a 30-foot pride flag on the set in public in front of everybody, right? That wouldn't be allowed. It wouldn't. But having your personal items on your personal gear is a different story. And so I wish he would have clarified that a little bit, because he's not saying that like anybody can bring anything and you can just do whatever you want on set. Like obviously there's going to be limitations to that, right? But on your personal gear, it's like that's your stuff. Like, you're using it for your job, like whatever. So yeah.
We hire, and we also do not police individuals' social media or their own personal workspaces, like their own gear, their own equipment, their own t-shirts. And we just made that decision years ago. I'll explain why in a little bit. But our cast and crew can say what they want on social media, and as long as they are not harming anyone else on set, kind of the usual rules of, everyone just kind of respecting each other, they're their own person. And even in this last week, some of our cast said some things online that I wouldn't have said, and we talked about it, and I just said, you can say what you want, but I think, here's examples of wisdom that we could practice.
This is really good from Dallas. I'm glad to hear him say this, because I know a lot of people were really upset with some of the actors and what they said. We talked about this in a previous video. If you want to go back and check that out, or if you're here for the live stream, you can rewind and check out that section. So yeah, Dallas definitely, I'm glad that he added this in, that he was like, yeah, some of the actors said some things, not what I would have said. We had a conversation with them. Like, I'm glad that we got that from him as well, because that means that we're thinking the same way, and that they weren't very wise in saying what they said. And so, yeah, very, very good that he said that.
And but that's just how we've operated from the beginning. So this particular issue this week, this is not our problem. We're doing the same thing we've always done. It's a philosophy we've had all along. We've communicated it repeatedly. Our visitors and whatnot see it when they come. In fact, when we filmed the feeding of the 5,000, some of our crew members, in fact, one of our crew members had this pride flag on his own personal equipment then too. So there's nothing for us to do about this, because I don't change my mind based on responses. But there's nothing for us to do but repeat what we've already said. And if this issue bothers you, that's fine. But that's not really something for us to be concerned with or try to change. You don't like my philosophy on personal workspaces on my set? Okay. I mean, again, like I said, this is not the first time. And I just don't make decisions based on disagreements or how people might respond. That said, here is a refresher. Now, before you turn off the video because you go, that's it. I knew it. They're not going to apologize. They're not going to change their mind, and they're wrong, and I'm done. That's fine. But here's a refresher on things we've said before, and maybe some little clarifications on things we haven't said yet. Number one, and this is very important, we are not a church. We are not a nonprofit. We're not a ministry. We're not any kind of religious or political organization. Now, the content itself can be ministerial, of course. And even the term Christian production, I've heard that thrown around. again, I haven't been paying much attention to social media, but when my team has been obviously asking me some questions about how to respond, and I've heard the term on a Christian production, you shouldn't XYZ. I'm not exactly sure what that term means, to be honest. Now, don't let that scare you. Can a production be Christian? The content can, of course. I mean, we're a show about Christ, so we're probably one of the most Christian content in history because we are about Christ, who's in the word Christian. But the production itself, the equipment, the crew, the team, the set, I mean, we film all over the place on different sets. And
so this is something that I think, like, even talking with my own friends and family, like, some of them have an issue with this type of thing, right? Like, how do you... I even saw a comment the other day on our channel, I think it was earlier today or yesterday, where someone's like, you really think that you, out of 2.5 billion Christians, you can't find talented people and blah, blah, blah? Yes. Yeah, I do believe that. Because there's probably only 3 or 4 people in the whole entire world that could play Mary Magdalene as well as Liz Habish does. Yep. You know? There's probably only a few teams that would work as well as the chosen team works in the way that they do. The people just don't exist. The Christian people that you're thinking about in terms of talent and ability and skill do not exist. Like, it's just the way that it is. And so, yes, I truly do believe that in all of Christendom and all the church, like, God has put these people in a specific place for a specific reason, right? God is using them, even though they're not followers of him, like he always has done since the beginning of time, right? I.e. Pharaoh. Could God have found a Christ follower or a God follower to be in Pharaoh's shoes? Sure. Or maybe not. And that's why he had to use Pharaoh the way that he did. I don't know. Just my 2 cents. Real quick, if you want to join us on our next Israel trip, you can join us in January of 2024. This is going to be an awesome trip with Isaac David, who runs Daily Disciple, and John McRae, who runs What Do You Meme here on YouTube. They're amazing content creators, but they're also very smart biblically. So I'm excited for this trip, getting to learn from them, and just to meet you all. So if you want to come on that trip, all the details are in the link in the description down below. Anyway, let's get back to the video.
We work with different vendors, and we don't have any kind of corporate policy about statements of faith or anything like that. We don't have corporate prayer on our set, but we have all kinds of employees. There's no statement of faith they're required to sign, like I just said. There's no offset clauses, like, you know, off the set, this is how you have to behave, or anything like that. So strangers to the show, or people online who keep saying The Chosen Inc. is a ministry or a church or should be like one, that doesn't necessarily make it true. Our company standards and practices and my own personal calling and ministry and my personal life and how I run my business, it might not be the same as yours. Can that be okay? I mean, even if you disagree, can that be okay? Can how we do it maybe be different from how you do it? You know?
And that's the case with me. Like, honestly, there are some things that Dallas has done that I would not have done. And that goes beyond this situation as well. You know, things like the law of Moses, right? Like, would I have written that line? I don't know. Like, maybe not, you know? Not that it's like a horrible line. I think that it's fine, biblically sound, like whatever. But maybe I wouldn't have, right? And there's a lot of different things that I would do differently if I was the director and writer of this show. But I'm not, right? And Dallas is in this position for a reason. So that's kind of where I am too. There's things I disagree with, but at the end of the day, like, it is just a show, you know? Like, it is just a show. So, anyway, let's move on.
Maybe not, but it's just important for you to remember that we are a for-profit public company as of now. And because of that, we might run things a little differently than you would, and we certainly run things differently than a church or nonprofit or ministry. Second important point that kind of guides some of our principles on this. Solomon built the Holy Temple. I mean, this is the holy...
I thought this was a really great point, so listen to this.
Temple of God. And the labor and the materials, many of them came from what's described in the Bible as pagan nations, pagan workers. He got help. And when he asked the king, I believe, the king of Tyre, I don't remember how to pronounce it, he referenced David, that David had done the same thing. And this is the Holy Temple. And it was built by what the Bible describes as pagans. People, but let's maybe not use the word pagans, let's just use the word people who strongly would disagree with Solomon or David in their spiritual practice.
Some people were saying how they had an issue with him, like, not wanting to call them pagans. What he's doing here is not saying that they're not pagans. What he's doing is trying to make it more modernized so that you understand what it's talking about in Scripture. He's not trying to say they're not pagans. He's just saying that they're people that don't understand or that don't have the same beliefs, because he's bringing it back to 2023 so that you can understand it in terms of modern language, instead of, because we don't call, everybody pagans nowadays, right? We call them non-believers or people that don't agree. So.
And you think also of like Bible. I've used this term before. When a Bible is printed, do you think that the people who print the Bible, the people who deliver the Bible, are all of the same faith? Very likely not. And so our philosophy has been that, look, if Solomon can work with people on a holy temple, with people who disagree with him, then so can we. Now, to be clear, I know you're saying, some of you are saying, yes, we're okay with you working with people of different faiths, but we're not okay with them, promoting something, their own agenda on set. And that's fair if you disagree with that. I'm not sure how that quite relates to the content of the show or how it relates to your particular life if you don't work on the show with me. But we can have a difference of opinion about that, and that's perfectly fine. But I'm just expressing our philosophy, and we don't find that anyone on our cast or crew are actively pushing anything in our face or saying things on set that are difficult or offensive.
Right. Like if a cameraman was like God is dead, like every day, just like yelling at the other people on set, like proselytizing all this stuff, like obviously they wouldn't want that person on set, not just because they're a non-believer, but also because they're just an annoyance, right? They wouldn't have someone like that on the set that's just trying to I don't know, say their own beliefs over and over and over again and like yelling at everybody's face, right? And I know that this is one of the reasons why you guys are upset, because you view having the pride flag out and having that sticker on or whatever, you view this as that far. You view it as being that much of a detriment, right, to set. But I guarantee you, when you're on set, nobody sees these things, right? They're not saying that it's normal, but they're just like, it doesn't matter to me because that's his gear. It's his stuff. So, yeah.
Now, this is another important point, and one of the main reasons why I have this philosophy, why I came into the show having this philosophy, because oftentimes the roles have been reversed. I've seen, it's happened both ways, but I've seen it also where Christians aren't allowed to express themselves at work or on sports teams, yep, or when bosses force their employees to wear a certain thing, put on a patch, line up for some sort of cause, and or resist one of their employees doing it. And I would imagine that if you were an employee at a place that had different beliefs than you do, and you wanted to show up and have a crucifix or a Jesus Saves sticker or something on your own personal workspace, and they said, no, you can't do that, I don't want you to do that, you're triggering someone else or whatever, you would, I would imagine, be not happy with that.
Yep, exactly. This, I think, is the best argument for this whole situation. It's like, if you do it for one person, you have to do it for all. If you do it for one culture, you have to do it for all. And so if you're not allowed to have a pride flag on set on your own equipment, then you also can't wear a Jesus shirt when you're filming a Jesus show. Like, I don't know. Either that, or you have to hire a whole Christian crew, which is going to lower quality inevitably. That's what we see in all of these other productions. So it's like, no, like you have to, you can't just shut down everything. You have to allow free speech to exist. Otherwise, everything else gets shut down as well. Otherwise, you lose your chance to talk about scriptures and to talk about Jesus and to evangelize and to be love and to be light, right, in these situations. Because the second that, like, on a Hollywood set you start doing that and they've shut down all this other stuff, like, you're going to be shut down too. So, like, we need free speech. we need freedom of expression, right? That's why it's in our Constitution, at least in America, right? I know in other places, in UK and other places, people are being arrested for telling jokes. Like, that's nutty to me. Like, that's crazy. So you just have to be careful with that kind of stuff. You can't shut it down just because it makes you, just because you disagree, right? And I do disagree. But on that set, if I was working as a crew member on the Chosen set and someone had a pride flag, I would just have my stuff too. And I would speak truth every second that I could. And I'm sure that's part of Dallas's plan. Because he has a relationship with all these people. We don't. So you yelling at Dan for all of his stuff is like not going to do anything. But Dallas and Julie and the writers of the show and the crew members that are believers, people like Chris Durbin, like they have the time to talk with these people. I know Chris specifically has spoken with actors, not part of the main actors, but other actors that have been on The Chosen in significant roles that are not believers. In fact, they're of other faiths. And he's been able to have conversations with them. That would never happen if he didn't have a relationship with them. So, again, like, this is how it works.
I've seen that happen before, and people complain about it, and people protest it when they see it happening. And I would agree with that. I don't like that either. I think that's wrong. And so, because I believe that that's wrong, even when the roles are reversed, then I would believe that it's wrong in my case, even if I disagree with something that someone may wear or post. Now, that said, we just agreed from the beginning. Amanda and I just said that this is going to be our philosophy. Now, if we were a church, or if in the description I provided, you're working for a political organization or something that has in its bylaws and as it's set up, a particular statement of faith, then I think that's fair. I mean, again, I'm politically libertarian. I believe in freedom and that companies...
For example, like me and Vanessa, we see this as a ministry. So my YouTube channel, like I'm not going to hire someone that like has vastly different beliefs than I do, because that would go against what I'm trying to do here. But there may be a contractor in the future. Let's say I hire an editor online, right? It depends. I may ask for that person's beliefs and talk through that kind of stuff ahead of time to make sure that they're on the same page as me, because I want them to be a great editor or whatever else. But there may be a certain thing that I just need done, and I pay someone to do it. I'm not gonna ask about their beliefs and everything. Like, that doesn't matter to me if it's a job that I need done, right? But if someone's gonna work on our team and like be a part of our company, then obviously, like, I would want them to be on board and have similar beliefs to me, because that's really, really important to what I do. Because accuracy, biblical accuracy, and walking in that is really, really important to me. So, just depends on the situation. But for us, a ministry, it would be totally different. For The Chosen, a production company, it doesn't work that way exactly.
Can do and operate how they want. And that includes, of course, nonprofits and ministries. And so if we were a church, my church has a different approach to hiring and whatnot than I do on my set. I understand that would be different, but we are not. Number 4 in the list of important points. Look, here's the thing when it comes to our cast and crew and my own beliefs and philosophies. I'm not an atheist, and neither is the production company an atheist. But I'm happy to work with those who are, if they are working hard for the show.
So this is a unique point that he kind of points out. He says, I'm not an atheist, and neither is the production company an atheist. So I assume he's talking about like 5 and 2. He's talking about the company that he runs in terms of The Chosen itself is a faith-based company, but it's not a ministry, is basically what he's saying. And so when they hire independent contractors, these are kind of the rules that he's going through, right? So he's saying that he's not an atheist. The production company is not an atheist production company. At least that's what I'm understanding from this, but let's keep on listening.
And I don't police their social media. I don't. My company won't make any kind of formal statement about atheism, or speaking out against atheism. Any disagreements I have with them would be discussed privately, and then in the context of relationship and love. The content of my show speaks for itself, and the content of my show may end up, of course, disagreeing with atheism. But in terms of our personal relationships on set, it's just not something that we discuss publicly. I'm not a Catholic. Neither is The Chosen Inc. Catholic. I'm not a Mormon. Neither is the Chosen Ink Mormon. I'm not a Buddhist or any other non-Christian religion. I'm not a liberal, personal. Not that that has anything to do with the show itself, but I'm not a liberal.
He's almost getting himself into more hot water here. I can tell he's like trying to manage his words as he's going.
And neither is the Chosen Ink. I don't celebrate Pride. I don't celebrate Pride Month. I don't celebrate the Pride flag.
This was a huge thing. I'm glad he clarified as well. That, again, a lot of people were claiming that he's affirming, that he's okay with it, that he's like he's affirming of Pride Month and all that stuff. Obviously here he had to clarify that he is not. Again, he didn't need to go and like dunk on all the LGBTQ alphabet community. Like, he didn't need to do that. But he just stated his goals. Like, he stated his beliefs very quickly, and I think that was something that he needed to do to kind of settle exactly where he was sitting.
If I wore a shirt, it'd probably say humility on it, just because pride has gotten me in trouble. But neither does the Chosen Ink. As an evangelical conservative, I'm actually probably a minority on our set. And here's the thing: our cast and crew, the majority of them who believe the spectrum of things, including the things I just above, don't expect me to agree with them on everything, and don't expect me to celebrate their thing or celebrate their cause. I love our cast and crew. I will go to war with them any day, and I will stand in the breach to defend them any day. And we are a family, and always have been. And we take that very seriously, even though we know we disagree on some big stuff. And I can guarantee you some of our cast and crew have seen posts from other cast and crew, or posts from me or my wife, and have probably disagreed with them. Well, not probably, have disagreed with them.
Yeah.
I'm sure we vote differently.
Yeah, this is a key thing, right? Like, we know that there's a lot of the actors have like spoken out during this whole situation even, right? And there's a big difference between what Dallas just did and what the other cast and crew have done. And as they're kind of reaching out, they're, tweeting Twitters, and they're Facebooking Facebooks, and Instagramming Instagrams, and all of this stuff is like, you go too far. Like, I'll bring up Giovanni's tweet again. So Giovanni tweeted this, right? And again, it just goes too far. Like, yes, you can defend, just like Dallas is doing here. He's defending this crew member, but he's not saying that everything this crew member does is okay. He's not advocating for Pride itself. He's advocating for this crew member. Regardless of what he believes or what's kind of going on in his life, he's advocating for this crew member to be able to have free speech, essentially. But this one goes a little bit too far for me, right? Like, from a Christian standpoint. And I don't know where Giovanni sits. I don't know if he's a Christian or if he's not, or whatever. So, like, yeah, this for me would be like too far of a tweet, personally. I wouldn't say this, but I would defend that crew member in order to have free speech, just like we've done on this channel several times in this last week.
But we love each other. We have conversations and disagreements in the context of relationship. And their incredible work on this project makes the show better. And if you love The Chosen, and if you love its message, that happens to be the only show, really the only TV show in the world that's unashamedly about Jesus himself and his message of salvation, it's largely because of the atheists, Mormons, Catholics, liberals, people who support issues you don't like. And yes, evangelicals and conservatives who work so hard for this show and for you. And I think those who are doing it, even though they disagree with me on some big issues, and are willing to still work for the show and work for the message, a message they might not necessarily believe in, they should be getting a thank you for putting the work and for putting the family above their own personal beliefs. And then here's another important point about all this, is that you might be thinking, hey, well, why not just avoid the controversy, and why not just, make a statement to put all this away and maybe change your policy because it's causing so much trouble. I've said this before. We don't make decisions based on how people will respond. I'm not a reed shaking in the wind. You wouldn't want that. We lose viewers all the time for multiple different types of things, and I guarantee you that some of the viewers we've lost have been because of something you love, a scene or a statement or something that you've loved and you've agreed with, but we've lost a lot of viewers because of it. And you would not want me to say, all right, you know what? I don't want to lose viewers. That's the most important thing. I don't want to distract anybody, so I need to make a decision or change my mind on something like that. You wouldn't want me to do that. So people saying, well, you should change your policy because it caused controversy. We don't do that. It's not how we make decisions. So, as I wrap this up, I just want to make sure that we're clear if you're choosing to leave the show or to not support the show or stop watching the show or whatever. If you are, I just want to make sure you're clear and that we're clear on what you are upset about or boycotting the show about.
So real quick, you guys can check out the rest of that video if you'd like to over on the YouTubes or the Instagrams or whatever. Really, it's everywhere. But the main thing that I want to talk about is like, yeah, like Dallas is right on a lot of these things. I disagree on some points, or I wish that he would have added more on some points. But overall, like, it comes down to like he's not going to change the policy because he doesn't want to be a reed shaking in the wind, and I totally agree with that. If I was reactive to every single comment that I got on YouTube, my channel would be all over the place, man. And the only thing that keeps me grounded is the Bible. The only thing that keeps me grounded is God and what His Word says, and so that's what I need to stick to. What you say in the comments is great. I love when you guys are part of our community and you do these things, even when you disagree with me. But you are not going to be the thing that convinces me. The scriptures are, right? And so that's really what I kind of come down to. Anyway, thank you so much for checking out this small part of our live stream. You can check out the entire live stream and full podcasts over on our Patreon at patreon.com/thesnipelife. This is by far the best way to help us in our ministry, so thank you so much to those that are on our Patreon already, and we'll see the rest of you over there, hopefully. We'd love to hit 300 patrons this year, so you could really, really help us out. We're just about to hit 200. Anyway, we'll see you on the next one. Peace.